The first information sharing initiative was the publishing of a publication which is still being published today, known as the Baobab, and that's the flagship publication of ALIN. It focuses today on information on small-scale sustainable agriculture, and it's being done in partnership with, it's part of the agriculture network, which is coordinated by LEA in the Netherlands, and it's a part of a family of publications, of magazines. The global one is known as Farming Matters, and I think Shelby is here, Shelby Chavez from LEA, and we have Asian and Latin American versions. So Baobab is the East African version. And it also carries information touching on best practices on climate change adaptation at the local level. ALIN relocated to Nairobi, set up an office in 2001, and that's where we are still located. But we have an East African mandate in terms of information dissemination and partnership. The first major use of ICTs by ALIN was in 2002, when ALIN started using satellite radio to deliver information to very remote parts of East Africa, using what we call information access points. These would be places where the information would be received through a workstation, and people organized around a focal group within mostly arid parts of East Africa, which many of you might know are very remote. And that information would then be downloaded to a PC and printed off and shared with farmers. In 2007, the access points became what we now call Maarifa centers. Maarifa is a Swahili name for knowledge. And that started in 2007. And then in 2008, 2009, ALIN adopted wide use of Web2 tools, including use of wikis, use of blogs, YouTube, Blip TV, and Skype. And this is done through, because each Maarifa center is actually managed by a field officer who is trained in some of these skills, and they are encouraged to share some of these basic skills with the community members. The main target audience of the Baobab and the primary information recipient is a community development worker who is either associated with a government department or NGO or CBO. And therefore, these become our intermediaries to repackage that information so that it can be accessible to farmers in their own language. Maarifa centers, forgive my poor drawing, but they are modified, they are physical spaces. They have evolved into physical spaces. And some of them are fabricated shipping containers. The advantage of that is they can be moved depending on circumstances. This is the model we are using in northern Uganda, for example, where we are starting to establish, within the next month, we are going to establish 3 new centers. They can also be rooms provided by a host organization. It could be a government department, it could be an NGO, and one I know is hosted by a mission hospital. So the idea is to get a space where you can, which has connectivity, either through research or more recently we are using bundles, data bundles provided by mobile phone from GSM companies. So that is a typical Maarifa center. Each Maarifa center has at least 5 computers connected to broadband. I've mentioned, if they are not powered, we provide solar power. There are also points of capture of best practices by either the community development workers, the intermediaries themselves. They are trained. We give them skills in writing, videography, taking pictures. And then once they're also captured by field officers. Once that information is digitized, it is then disseminated either through, we have an open knowledge network. This enables the center, which is not having internet connectivity, to be able to upload digital information, which can later be disseminated through all the centers through the internet. And we also capture case studies in form of video, which is then streamed through Blip TV, Princeberry, and YouTube. Of course, each center is managed by a field officer who is trained, mostly a graduate of information or journalism or environment or social science, but with a keen interest in writing So these young people become very handy in terms of demystifying technology and passing skills to community. There are also points of dissemination, of course. That's where we disseminate the baobab, which I think we have copies here. And Africa does mention Joto Africa. So there are also points of dissemination because ALIN facilitates two-way you can get access to new information. So those places are also used for other uses by community. Many communities access e-government services, e-health, e-learning through the center because of the connectivity. I'm winding up. Thanks. We are piloting an internet-based market access portal, which I'm not going to dwell on that. We can do that during the center session. What has all this got? What's the approach towards climate change? One of them is production, of course, of Joto Africa. This is done through IDS through funding from DFID. IDS is the Institute of Development Studies of the University of Sussex, and Africa Adapt, among other partners. Then we disseminate and repackage climate change information through Joto and other platforms. We document climate change indigenous knowledge, and we have people who are sharing through near the information center. There are some pictorial stories shared by one of our farmers who we brought along, and there's going to be tomorrow's sharing session is going to be a musical performance around knowledge sharing on climate change. And finally, we have community sensitization on climate change adaptation, use of best practices to be able to cope with climate change. Thank you.